2006 to 2013, Death Magnetic and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. In February 2006, Metallica announced on its official website that after 15 years, longtime producer Bob Rock would not be producing the band's next studio album. Instead, the band chose to work with producer Rick Rubin. Around the same time, a petition signed by 1,500 fans was posted online in an attempt to encourage the band to prohibit Rock from producing Metallica albums, saying he had too much influence on the band's sound and musical direction. Rock said the petition hurt his children's feelings. He said, "Sometimes, even with a great coach, a team keeps losing. You have to get new blood in there." In December 2006, Metallica released a DVD titled The Videos 1989 to 2004, which sold 28,000 copies in its first week and entered the Billboard Top Videos chart at number 3. Metallica recorded a guitar-based interpretation of Ennio Morricone's The Ecstasy of Gold for a tribute album titled We All Love Ennio Morricone, which was released in February 2007. The track received a Grammy nomination at the 50th Grammy Awards for the category Best Rock Instrumental Performance. A recording of The Ecstasy of Gold has been played to introduce Metallica's performances since the 1980s. Metallica scheduled the release of the album Death Magnetic as September 12, 2008. And the band filmed a music video for the album's first single, The Day That Never Comes. On September 2, 2008, a record store in France began selling copies of Death Magnetic nearly 2 weeks before its scheduled worldwide release date, which resulted in the album being made available on peer-to-peer clients. This prompted the band's UK distributor Vertigo Records to officially release the album on September 10, 2008. Rumors of Metallica or Warner Brothers taking legal action against the French retailer were unconfirmed, though drummer Lars Ulrich responded to the leak by saying, "We're 10 days from release. I mean, from here, we're golden. If this thing leaks all over the world today or tomorrow, happy days. Happy days. Trust me," and, by 2008 standards, that's a victory. If you told me 6 months ago that our record wouldn't leak until 10 days out, I would have signed up for that. Death Magnetic debuted at number 1 in the US, selling 490,000 units. Metallica became the first band to have 5 consecutive studio albums debut at number 1 in the history of the Billboard 200. A week after its release, Death Magnetic remained at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and the European album chart. It also became the fastest-selling album of 2008 in Australia. Death Magnetic remained at number 1 on the Billboard 200 album chart for 3 consecutive weeks. Metallica was one of 2 artists whose album, the other being Jack Johnson's album Sleep Through the Static, remained on the Billboard 200 for 3 consecutive weeks at number 1 in 2008. Death Magnetic also remained at number 1 on Billboard's Hard Rock, Modern Rock, Alternative and Rock album charts for 5 consecutive weeks. The album reached number 1 in 32 countries outside the US, including the UK, Canada, and Australia. In November 2008, Metallica's record deal with Warner Brothers ended and the band considered releasing its next album through the internet. On January 14, 2009, it was announced that Metallica would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on April 4, 2009. And that former bassist Jason Newsted, who left the band in 2001, would perform with the band at the ceremony. Initially, it was announced that the matter had been discussed and that bassist Trujillo had agreed not to play because he wanted to see the Black Album band. However, during the band's set of Master of Puppets and Enter Sandman, both Trujillo and Newsted were on stage. Ray Burton, father of the late Cliff Burton, accepted the honor on his behalf. Although he was not to be inducted with them, Metallica invited Dave Mustaine to take part in the induction ceremony. Mustaine declined because of his touring commitments in Europe. Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax performed on the same bill for the first time on June 16, 2010, at Warsaw Babice Airport, Poland, as a part of the Sonosphere Festival series. The show in Sofia, Bulgaria, on June 22, 2010, was broadcast via satellite to cinemas. The bands also played concerts in Bucharest on June 26, 2010, and Istanbul on June 27, 2010. On June 28, 2010, Death Magnetic was certified double platinum by the RIAA. Metallica's World Magnetic Tour ended in Melbourne on November 21, 2010. The band had been touring for more than 2 years in support of Death Magnetic. To accompany the final tour dates in Australia and New Zealand, a live limited edition EP of past performances in Australia called 6 Feet Down Under was released. The EP was followed by 6 Feet Down Under, Part 2, which was released on November 12, 2010. Part 2 contains a further 8 songs recorded during the first 2 oceanic legs of the World Magnetic Tour. On November 26, 2010, Metallica released a live EP titled Live at Grimey's. which was recorded in June 2008 at Grimey's record store, just before the band's appearance at Bonnaroo Music Festival that year. In a June 2009 interview with Italy's Rock TV, Ulrich said Metallica was planning to continue touring until August 2010, and that there were no plans for a 10th album. He said he was sure the band would collaborate with producer Rick Rubin again. According to Blabbermouth.net, the band was considering recording its next album in the second half of 2011. In November 2010, during an interview with the Pulse of Radio, Ulrich said Metallica would return to writing in 2011. Ulrich said, "There's a bunch of balls in the air for 2011. But I think the main one is we really want to get back to writing again. We haven't really written since, 06, 07, and we want to get back to kind of just being creative again. Right now we are going to just chill out and then probably start up again in, I'd say, March or April, and start probably putting the creative cap back on and start writing some songs." On November 9, 2010, Metallica announced it would be headlining the Rock in Rio festival in Rio de Janeiro on September 25, 2011. On December 13, 2010, the band announced it would again play as part of the Big Four during the Sonosphere Festival at Knebworth House, Hertfordshire, on July 8, 2011. It was the first time all of the Big Four members played on the same stage in the UK. On December 17, 2010, another Big Four Sonosphere performance that would take place in France on July 9 was announced. On January 25, 2011, another Big Four performance on April 23, 2011, at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California, was announced. It was the first time all of the Big Four members played on the same stage in the US on February 17, 2011, a show in Gelsenkirchen, Germany, on July 2, 2011, was announced. On February 22, a Big Four show in Milan on July 6, 2011, was announced. On March 2, 2011, another Big Four concert, which took place in Gothenburg on July 3, 2011, was announced. The final Big Four concert was in New York City, at Yankee Stadium, on September 14, 2011. In an interview at the April 2011 Big Four concert, Robert Trujillo said Metallica will work with Rick Rubin again as producer for the new album and we're really excited to write some new music. There's no shortage of riffage in Metallica world right now. He added, "The first album with Rick was also the first album for me, so in a lot of ways, you're kind of testing the water. Now that we're comfortable with Rick and his incredible engineer, Greg Feidelman, who worked with Slayer, actually, on this last record, it's my hero, it's a great team. And it's only getting better. I really believe that. So I'm super excited." In June 2011, Rubin said Metallica had begun writing its new album. On June 15, 2011, Metallica announced that recording sessions with singer-songwriter Lou Reed had concluded. The album, which was titled Lulu, was recorded over several months and comprised 10 songs based on Frank Wedekin's Lulu, Plays Earth Spirit and Pandora's Box. The album was released on October 31, 2011. The recording of the album was problematic at times. Lars Ulrich later said Lou Reed challenged him to a street fight. On October 16, 2011, Robert Trujillo confirmed that the band was back in the studio and writing new material. He said, "The writing process for the new Metallica album has begun. We've been in the studio with Rick Rubin, working on a couple of things, and we're going to be recording during the most of next year." Metallica was due to make its first appearance in India at the India Rocks concert, supporting the 2011 Indian Grand Prix. However, the concert was cancelled when the venue was proven to be unsafe. Fans raided the stage during the event and the organizers were later arrested for fraud. Metallica made its Indian debut in Bangalore on October 30, 2011. On November 10, it was announced that Metallica would headline the main stage on Saturday, June 9, 2012. At the Download Festival at Donington Park and that the band would play the Black Album in its entirety. Metallica celebrated its 30th anniversary by playing 4 shows at the Fillmore in San Francisco in December 2011. The shows were exclusive to Met Club members and tickets were charged at $6 each or $19.81 for all 4 nights. The shows consisted of songs from the band's career and featured guest appearances by artists who had either helped or had influenced Metallica. These shows were notable because Lloyd Grant, Dave Mustaine, Jason Newsted, Glenn Danzig, Ozzy Osbourne, Jerry Cantrell, Apocalyptica, members of Diamond Head, and King Diamond joined Metallica on stage for all appropriate songs. In December 2011, Metallica began releasing songs that were written for Death Magnetic but were not included on the album online. On December 13, 2011, the band released Beyond Magnetic, a digital EP release exclusively on iTunes. It was released on CD in January 2012. On February 7, 2012, Metallica announced that it would start a new music festival called Orion Music Plus More. which took place on June 23 and 24, 2012, in Atlantic City. Metallica also confirmed that it would headline the festival on both days and would perform two of its most critically acclaimed albums in their entirety, the Black Album on one night, and Ride the Lightning on the other. In a July 2012 interview with Canadian radio station 99.3 The Fox, Ulrich said Metallica would not release its new album until at least early 2014. In November 2012, Metallica left Warner Brothers Records and launched an independent record label, Blackened Recordings, which will produce the band's future releases. The band acquired the rights to all of its studio albums, which were all reissued through the new label. Blackened releases were licensed through Warner's subsidiary Rhino Entertainment in North America and internationally through Universal Music. On September 20, 2012, Metallica announced via its official website that a new DVD containing footage of shows it performed in Quebec in 2009 would be released that December. Fans would get the chance to vote for two setlists that would appear on the DVD. The film, titled Quebec Magnetic, was released in the US on December 10, 2012.